TF2 has way too many weapons. It's come to the point that when some random YouTuber brings up one of the less used ones, it can easily change the viewpoint that most people have for that weapon. It's usually for one big reason, the lack of time using it effectively. But that's not the worst thing that could happen when it comes to game balance. The worst thing is when a weapon is overpowered, and in the view of the community, there's no weapon in TF2 that is truly overpowered. Some are better than stock, and the Wrangler is, well, okay, the Wrangler is probably actually overpowered, but in the general view of the community, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to see a general consensus on any weapon being broken overpowered. But for me, I think one weapon might just fit into that area of obscurity where a YouTuber needs to tell you the weapon is good, while simultaneously being Wrangler levels of broken. The thermal thruster. I started properly using this thing after I saw the What video on it, and over another 25 hours or so of me playing Pyro, my strange flamethrower went from about 300 kills to 2200. I don't even have that much on the Jag, which I've been using a bunch as, well, an NG main? But look, it's not because the flamethrower itself is the best weapon in the game. It is potent, sure, but it's because of the thermal thruster. I never saw a use for this thing until I watched that The What video, and while he portrays it as a useful tool, I think it's absolutely broken, stupid, overpowered. So I think I need to make a point. I want to show off why this forgotten weapon truly is amazing. I need to explain why dropping your shotgun for this might be the best choice you can make as Pyro. So to make my point, let's figure out why the thermal thruster is actually overpowered. So, to understand why the thermal thruster is so good, let's talk about what Pyro even does. Many classes are straightforward in TF2. Sniper shoots people in the face, NG builds a sentry, Heavy says Pootis, and Medic heals people. Simple stuff. But the Pyro? He burns people, yeah, but he's not super quick, so he can't really get up to his enemies. And his health isn't as high as somebody like the Soldier, and also his range is absolutely terrible, so that means that nowadays he just works as a support class by checking for spies, doing heavy damage to people at close range, and protecting his Zenji. So I like him a lot. But he's only in this role for one reason: mobility. When it comes to many other classes, mobility isn't a huge problem. Some classes move quicker, some have special tools to get them moving, and some of them don't need that mobility. Heavy does need mobility, but he trades it for health and damage. But what does Pyro have? He's kinda middle of the road everywhere. All his options for mobility then come with risks. The power jack makes you take more damage per hit, and the detonator rips a fifth of your health off if you use it. If only the Pyro had a risk-free way to go the speed of sound, then he'd be unstoppable. He'd be... oh yeah, he does. Is a fucking jetpack. Somehow, by giving Pyro much more mobility, you're able to play any class you want to in TF2, or at least most of them. Namely, Scout, Spy, and Demoman. He lets you pick your fights with heavy damage, he lets you get quick picks, and he also lets you go on incredible sprees of mayhem. Oh yeah, and you can swap from these modes on the fly, and you can kinda play them all at once. So let's first talk about why Pyro can become Scout TF2, which will also lead into the one thing you're already yelling at me for in the comments. Scout is characterized by two things in my opinion.
I would have put you in a meat grind.
His ability to pick fights, and his ability to run away. The Pyro doesn't exactly have either of these abilities. He isn't very quick, and if you try to use the detonator or the power jack to get away from somebody, you might just get shot to death. But what if you could surprise the enemies and then get away with only taking 4 to 7 points of damage? Yeah, the thermal thruster. As I said, it's a fucking jetpack. When it comes to the thruster, the distance and speed you can obtain is immense. You can jump from here to there and just light somebody to death and then run away. The thermal thruster has effectively an infinite amount of charges. These charges recharge over 15 seconds, and the max amount that you can have is 2. If you use a charge, you're gonna have to wait 15 seconds before you get another one. That 15 seconds is a hefty bit of time, but the thing is that you have 2 charges. If the fight you've picked isn't in your favor, you can just, well, jump away. As long as you master the timing, which I know is vague language, you will be able to time things so that your charges line up with when you need to leave. Besides, if you're up in the face of 8 of the 9 classes while they're all alone, completely scaring them out of their wits because a Pyro shouldn't be here, is that person really gonna kill you? That's rhetorical, of course, but in my experience in casual, I can summarize the answer in 2 words. Lol, no.
Sorry.
This actually brings up a very central theme to the general playstyle of the thruster. Shock and awe. You shock the enemy by being somewhere you're not supposed to, and then you make them go. That's the awe part, by the way. So let's take a look at some of the clips where I play Pyro like Scout. Wait, there's a different gun I can use to play Pyro like Scout? You're telling me that I don't have to use this big lump of metal? What could it possibly be? Oh yeah, the detonator. I can't believe it. I've had the wool pulled out from under my eyes. I've become based and red pill. I'm gonna have to make a video on the detonator. Well, no, I don't, because I have some stuff to say about the detonator and why the thruster still has its merits.
Chicken.
Don't get wordy with me, Scout.
Could I chop you up in a meat grinder?
Okay! Look, let me be quick about this. The detonator is a really good weapon. It allows you to fling yourself at enemies, like in this clip with Lazy Purple and Anthem. It's cracked, it's really good. But the problem isn't what it does, it's what it doesn't do. The detonator allows you to get up to different areas and to jump at the enemy at a quicker speed. But because of self-damage, if you were to use it to jump in and out of a fight like I am, you would take 60 plus damage. But that's not the purpose of the detonator. No weapon should be so good that it allows you to toss yourself into the fray and get out scot-free. But the thruster allows you to do that. It allows you to get quick kills and fulfill different roles that the detonator doesn't exactly allow you to do. Like jumping up from out of nowhere to pick off a sniper. So the quick answer as to why the detonator should be set aside for the moment is that its role is mainly mobility for short distances, while the thruster allows you to be a jack of all trades focused on different things. Now, scout clips! So let's focus on the fight picking thing and running away. I'm able to pick fights with the thruster as such. I jump down onto the spy and pretty much instantly kill him. I'm right at their spawn doors, because that's just harvest. But I'm able to escape before more people spawn in by jumping onto their roof and hiding behind cover. I could have ran away, but I decided to snoop around a bit and I was able to kill off another unlucky sniper. Here, I'm completely stuck behind a box because of a heavy. I should be dead, but because the thruster won't damage me if I use it, I jump to the spawn doors and survive with barely 2 health. But I'm able to skip a respawn, all because I had the thruster. If I used the detonator or the power jack here, I would just be dead. In this clip, I get chased off by a heavy. I'm lucky that I didn't die with the power jack out, but I'm able to do that scout thing where you can choose your fights. While he's distracted, I jump at him and I'm able to kill him pretty quick. Even though he was injured, I was obviously out damaging him. And this even leads into me doing some flanking and aiding my team by picking off a guy who could destroy a sentry and some random scout.
There's a sniper in jeans in here.
I was saving this for the demo section, but I think I can make a point here. While Scout can pick off a med and yell, "Med down," what if you could kill not just the med, but also his pocket? It's amazing! This one was weird, but you can also pick fights you know you're likely gonna fuck up at, and still deal massive damage. I was able to kill 2 people here, despite knowing this fight could be terrible to get into. Nobody expects a pyro to do what I'm doing. After all, why would I? It makes no sense. I do screw up and die here, but if I reflected the rocket, I might have killed 4 people. If you can't tell by now, the thruster allows you to do things you're not supposed to be able to do. Being super aggressive can actually help you do things you couldn't pull off otherwise. Which is why I have a handful of clips that start with the word dumbass. This clip is a bit more overarching. Here, I badgered the enemy team by jumping into the fight and killing 2 hopeless snipers. Agree with somebody in chat, and then used the absolutely brutal stomp that comes into play surprisingly often to almost instantly kill an NG attempting to set things up. Pyro can easily stuff any bit of setup happening if he's aggressive enough, and he obviously has the speed for it with the thruster. As a matter of fact, that leads very well into our next class, Spy. Spy is a very unfortunate class when it comes to modern TF2. While his ability to sap buildings, kill important enemies, and deny Ubers is great, he's a very difficult class to play effectively. But what if he wasn't as thin as a goddamn noodle, and he also had a jetpack? Hey, we have a guy who can fulfill that role. Here I'm going to start talking about the more oppressive abilities of Pyro. This doesn't fit into any of the exact class roles he can play necessarily, but he's very much able to stuff forward progress and punish any failure in defense. I've already partially made this point, but with the extended reach of how far the thruster can go, you can really get up in the enemy's face, especially one whose face you really need to get into. This includes medics and soldiers. If a soldier dares to attempt to shoot anything at you, because you're catching them off guard, you get a lot of air blast kills. No, seriously. And on top of that, you also get a lot of heavy kills. Yes, you can out DPS a heavy as Pyro if you couldn't tell. And it's a lot easier to do when you're already literally inside of them. Even though a spy would need to think carefully with his cloak to get close to an enemy like this, and then stab them in the back, which is impossible if they are being observed by the enemy, flames are flames, and air blast is air blast. Even though it's possible to kill enemies quickly, that isn't the only spy-style thing you can do. You can also easily destroy enemy buildings. Stationary targets and pyros go together pretty well, and for sentries, as long as they aren't level 2 or above, you can usually deal with them. But those two things aren't too much on their own. While destroying buildings and killing powerful classes does contribute to the game, there is something that is very simple that does a whole lot in a casual game. Uber. It does not matter what game mode you're in. Uber is incredibly powerful. In this pyro clip, I can WM1 and kill anything. What are you gonna do to stop it? That's right. Die! As a spy, you can backstab the medic before he gets Uber or before he activates his charge. But if he activates it, well, your team will suffer the consequences. And no single person can kill an Ubered medic. But there is one problem that a med can face during this, and that's knockback effects. Most importantly, air blast. So, what if I told you that air blast knockback scales with speed? And if I go super fast with a jetpack, straight into the gaping maw that is an Ubered heavy, and I just... Oh, yeah, that just happened. I completely negated a well-earned Uber with an M1 and an M2. Look at this fucking guy. What is he gonna do? Man's probably thinking, oh fuck, oh god, why is Putis flying now? Now is not the time for your damn space race. And the Uber has ended. I just completely countered the most useful tool in the game by clicking M2. He had no time to react, because I employed that shock and awe tactic I mentioned. Now he is flying up there with Sputnik. Hell, you can also use this on other players too, and by god can you get them some airtime. So, let's clarify my point. Pyro allows you to get quick picks a little more efficiently than Spy, considering his more consistent damage, ability to reflect, and higher health. He can also very easily destroy non-sentry buildings with the high DPS on a non-moving target, and his ability to stuff Ubers with the incredible speed boost from the jetpack is astounding. So now, let's review some clips where I played Pyro like Spy. As shown before, the ability to stuff an Uber is there and is definitely not impossible. And even then, you can shoot different people off into space quite easily. Look at how far that guy went. And as seen before, you can air blast many people at once. But it's not just that you can air blast people and hopefully get an environmental kill. No, of course not. If you use your brain and your surroundings, you can also trap medics who are ending their Ubers and burn them to death. Or ones that are just trying to push with a pocket. For building destruction stuff, you can easily destroy teleporters. While destroying a dispenser is useful, a teleporter being destroyed is much more devastating. If this enemy team wants to have any chance of pushing forward, a teleporter could help them, but considering I exist, I can jump right in and burn it to bits. If I hadn't destroyed that teleporter, who knows if they could have started the pub push. I saw this guy badgering my teammates, and considering he could destroy unattended buildings or try to jump down to sneak behind some people, I decided to jump up straight through the window and pick him off. A spy would need to flank and make sure he isn't seen to get that kill. Even though I said the opposite, you can in fact deal with level 3 sentries when they're in the right spot. The sentry was stuffed in a corner, so I was able to light it up while it was focused on other people and was looking away from me. The flamethrower's damage is nothing to mess with. So when you have the ability to touch something with your flames, do it. You'll shock yourself with how you can actually survive. Even then, while I've mainly shown pyro picks to be something that is more about stuffing the enemy's setup and pushes, you can in fact almost instantly delete people with reflex and stomps. Both happen somewhat often, and really do benefit you. Finally, for Spy, you can also do a little trolling. You can easily harass enemies who feel a little too confident in themselves for getting a random kill. And hey, an angry enemy player is one that plays worse. No, I don't think this guy was too serious, but don't batter him if you see him in the game, thanks.
Artie, I am gonna make you eat your own flesh.
Finally for our classes, Demo Man. Demo Man is notable for his pure DPS. His sticky bomb launcher and grenade launcher are both incredible damage dealers, and can get you a bunch of kills. And even though Demo is one of the most powerful classes in the game, he has one flaw in my book. Reloading. And lucky for us, Pyro doesn't have to reload. But as of now, I've only shown you that I can get a single kill and then crawl away from the action after I've done my little shtick. If Pyro could only do these things from the Scout and Spy section, this weapon wouldn't be overpowered. Potent, sure, but Pyro has one more trick up his sleeve as long as you can master it. Raw killing power. If you can frag a handful of people in a short time, you can easily give your team the ability to push into a new area or gain back ground they were losing. The thermal thruster allows you to rack up a bunch of kills and cause excess damage, just like Demo Man. Due to the high damage of the flamethrower, you can literally just be the sticky bomb and kill people and cause excess damage. I die here, but I killed a guy and roughed up the rest. While this isn't a great tactic unless your team is firing at the enemies, that's just the tip of the iceberg. I've gotten so many kills without the whole last-ditch effort stuff. You can easily go on streaks due to the high power as discussed before. While the flamethrower is very unlikely to deal 174 damage a second, it truly can be ridiculous how much damage you can deal with it. Here, with the use of the thruster, I'm able to toss myself in and out to prevent any bit of forward progress from the enemy. It's quite easy to jump in and survive for a decent amount of time, considering that 175 isn't exactly a low amount of health. Getting kill streaks with the Scout and Spy strategies is very possible, but when I say you can play Demo Man, I mean it. You can rack up a lot of kills with the flamethrower in rapid succession. And I have to show you the coup de grace. the clip that shows off the pics of Spy, the playstyle of Scout, and the damage of a demo. A 14 kill streak that I got in 4 minutes. So here's where that whole punishing any bit of setup stuff really comes in. As long as you're super aggressive when your team gets the upper hand, you can aid in creating a role for your team. I'm able to pester enemies at their spawn doors with the damage of the flamethrower, and then I'm able to kill some other enemies trying to set up camp. Here, just because I decided to be aggressive and approach from the area where enemies actually push on Sweden, I'm able to kill 3 people and assist in the death of 2 others. I think you see the point here. Pyro can really mop up enemies if he attacks the retreating ones, and considering the ease with which you can aim your flamethrower, he is a formidable opponent in that regard. And to end off the short demo section, we have these kill streaks. I'm able to quickly rack up kills through many means, all because I jump into the fight constantly. I'm able to get reflect kills, kills on cheeky flankers, kills through baiting somebody then doubling back, and even more. But I don't need to spend time analyzing these. I have the perfect clip that shows off everything I've been talking about. Here's where we play every class in the game, with my 14 kill streak on Thunder Mountain. First off, I start my streak against people who are capable at playing the game. They managed to get the cart past the choke here on Thunder Mountain, so hey, at least this isn't a kill streak against bots. First, I'm able to flank and stupidly jump into the fight against the heavy and medic, but because this weapon awards you for being an idiot, I took the risk and was able to stomp them out. I'm able to take out a pyro who gets health mid-fight, only to jump at a rogue heavy attempting to destroy some buildings. My heavy damage stops him from doing much. Then, I'm able to reverse flank a scout trying to be sneaky, but hey, flames are deadly and I shouldn't even be up here. Then I'm able to jump over that stupid fence thing and destroy a mini, help my spy finish off a heavy. I then get damaged by a suspicious face we'll see later, and I have 1 health! I should be dead, but because I have 2 charges on my thruster, I'm able to skedaddle back to spawn and use the whole running away at high speeds thing that Scout can do. And once again, I skip a respawn. I also somehow impossibly get plus 20 health after I reflect a Crockett back at a soldier at point blank range. I took all of his health in an instant from the front. Try doing that, Spy. Okay, without abusing CL Interp though. Once again, I flank and get a kill and use possibly the greatest show of shock and awe I could possibly imagine. Due to my tight strafing and seeing that he was distracted, I'm able to shock him and make him scream. I basically land on top of him and almost instantly kill him. Imagine if I landed a stomp. I didn't need to, but the fact that I could have killed him quicker is just crazy. I then get a reflect kill on that guy who got me down to 1 health earlier. I told you they were shockingly frequent, and I'm able to play a scout at his own game by running away to get health. I'm only put down from this rampage when this direct hit soldier does this number, which either he's been blessed by Christ above or he's hacking. And hey, no matter which one it is, it took somebody with inhuman abilities to finally put me down. The thruster is just that good. In the right situations, it's the most overpowered weapon in TF2. But hey, what are the right situations? Well, all of them. The survivability, the damage, the mobility, the unexpectedness. The thermal thruster is so potent. It allows you to play Pyro in ways that other classes were meant to play the game, but not him. The thruster could be so game-breaking for the fact that just clicking 1 button makes you a force to be reckoned with. Okay, look, the thruster has downsides. I stand by the whole thing I've been talking about in this video, but oh my god. Let's start out with the obvious, and let's talk about the shock part of shock and awe. The biggest problem that faces the thruster isn't necessarily how it works, but rather how you try to employ it. You need timing, game sense, and strafing skills to use the weapon effectively. In other words, you need to actually shock the enemy. Jumping at them isn't enough. Otherwise, in my 14 kill streak, I absolutely abuse the sightlines that aren't there in Thunder Mountain. I land basically on top of that heavy's head, so how was he gonna see me? I was basically a nuclear payload. That's when the thruster is borderline broken. But here on Snowy Coast and on defense, good lord, it's bad. The spawn room is where everybody is looking, and half the map is inside. I'm able to use the thruster very effectively on a map like Harvest because of the skybox, and the smaller buildings. But when there isn't much skybox to jump up into, you just die. And of course, if you're using the same tactics over and over to shock people, it's not going to work so well. And as I mentioned, defense is also a time where it can be a little useless. It's not that offense is a bad time to use it. Of course, my 14 kill streak was on defense, so I'd like to note that it's not exactly attacking or defending where the thruster is better. It's best when you aren't dying a bunch, and that's because the death rate with the thruster can be pretty high. While I usually had a little under 2 times the amount of kills than deaths, if each death is a 20-second respawn, I'm using my abilities poorly. But if it's like a 10-second respawn, like on attack, I'm probably actually doing something pretty good. The thruster isn't a brain-dead weapon. Clicking mouse 1 is a recipe for greatness, but you need practice and also a map with a high skybox that's mainly outside to really use it well. Now let's talk about awe. Namely the fact that, oh god damn it, there's a sentry right fucking there! Yes, if you've ever asked a troller about their opinion on sentries, they'll feel the same as a pyro with the jetpack feels. A level 3 sentry makes you a chew toy for a pit bull. You're going to be ripped to shreds. If I try and jump into a situation to do some damage and forget there's a sentry, I'm dead. Oh, well hey, as I mentioned, being a dumbass really does award you when using this thing. But still, in this clip where I could attempt to flank while my team is distracting enemies at the other end of the tunnel, there's a level 3 there. This is truly a time when the whole jack-of-all-trades thing that Pyro has really does add the ending of Master of None. A spy could avoid that by cloaking and sapping it. A scout could use bomb. A demo could attack head-on with his heavy damage. But for Pyro it isn't as easy. I'm able to do some stuff, sure, but I could do better as any other class. Or if I could flank. And that's not to mention two of the bigger downsides. For one, it's not a gun. Even though the flamethrower is shockingly deadly and can certainly pull its weight, if you're facing against a pyro, it's a game of luck who dies or survives. Even then, if you're facing up against somebody who could do with a shotgun blast to the face for burst damage, or because they're using the Vax, you're screwed. It's not like the Stomp is impossible to pull off either, but trust me, bullets are more reliable than Cyberpunk Kung Fu. It is fun though. And for the other downside that you should be aware of, it's like any Western world leader in a war. It's terrible at pulling out. If you want to use it, you have to have it pulled out beforehand, and if you get juggled a bit in a small space, you're dead. No way to fight back and no way to escape. It's not much of an issue to put it away, because pulling out your flamethrower while falling is usually easy, but if you're in a more congested space, no. So, in conclusion, is the thermal thruster truly overpowered? In my opinion, in a fair share of cases, it definitely can be. The things that I'm able to do in this situation just due to one weapon is crazy. The survivability, the damage, the mobility, the unexpectedness, it's not super balanced to play against. The method of shocking the enemy, pushing them back, or preventing their pushes with only one person and one weapon is also a little much when you can pull it off. But even then, due to how some maps are made, and how it does take skill to use, it's not as brain dead as something like how the old Critical was. So while it's not the most overpowered weapon in TF2 history, the thermal thruster is stupid broken overpowered. For today's standards. And on a map with a high skybox. That doesn't have too many indoor areas. And as long as you take some time to practice with it. And you can understand your enemies. It's a little specialized. It's like a hot pocket when you nuke it in the microwave. Cold in some parts, and absolutely burning searing hot in others. The cold being Snowy Coast, the hot being Thunder Mountain. So, hey, bite into that hot pocket and tell me what you feel. Because for me, that burning part stands out the most. Is there anything I failed to mention? Did I screw something up? Am I a stupid, dumb, stupid idiot? Please tell me in the comments. No, I will not be making a video on the detonator. Maybe, if I figure out how to do what Anthony was doing here, that would possibly compel me to make a vid on it. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was hard to make, but I did enjoy it. I will definitely take some of the screw-ups I made in recording into mind when making another video related to TF2 or gaming. For new viewers, I mainly make videos about linguistics. I do love TF2 and I'd like to make more videos about it, but I want to see how this video is perceived, and I want to focus mainly on linguistics anyways. But hey, a TF2 video every once in a while would be fun. My next video will be about why this mysterious language is related to English. What is it? Well, you're gonna have to tune in next time. Just kidding, it's Persian, the language of Iran. I'll be beginning college around when that video is put out, so I don't know how my upload plans will be, but I hope you have a good one. Until next time!